Over there is Little Moose Island. This is Little Moose Island, and you get here by hiking across the land bridge. But I'd say more, but it's lunchtime, and Grease's getting a little hungry. Go grab a little bite to eat. Dude, where's my land bridge? Tides are the daily rise and fall of sea levels, and in Acadia, those sea levels go up and down anywhere between 10 and 12 feet. That's why this land bridge will disappear underwater, only to re-emerge a few hours later. So, how come I can hike out to Little Moose Island instead of put on a pair of swim trunks and goggles and go for what I imagine to be a very cold swim? For that answer, we look up. The moon. Beautiful, mysterious, definitely landed on. The Earth's gravity pulls on the moon, keeping it in orbit around us. But the moon also pulls on the Earth. But since the moon's mass is much smaller than the Earth, its gravitational pull is much weaker. It's just a little tug, not really enough to change the Earth's orbital path, but enough to make our sea levels go up and down. The moon pulls on the land too, but it's a lot harder for anybody to notice. Water has a much easier time getting around. It's the gravitational pull of the moon that causes our oceanic tides, and, depending on your local geography, causes land bridges like the one I'm currently standing on to dip below water for part of the day. But that's just part of the story. When we get high and low tides depends not just on the moon, but the position of the Earth and Sun as well. And for that, we need to talk to an astronomer.
Hello, my name is Kiersten Boley, and I am an astronomer at The Ohio State University. The position of the moon has a pretty big impact, and the biggest impact on Earth, because its position influences tides. So when we think about the moon and Earth, and how the tides relate to all of this, you'll have the moon, and basically all the water will kind of drain from the sides that the moon is not facing, and then you'll get these two bulges on the sides, both facing of the Earth that's facing the moon and the side that's opposite of the moon as well. When we think about these bulges, the bulges stay the same relative to the moon, but as you know, the Earth has a 24-hour day. And so that means that basically you've got this, you can almost think about it as like this bubble of bulged water that we're rotating under, almost. And so that's why you'll get times of day where you'll have high tide and low tide, and that's mostly due to the Earth's rotation as opposed to the moon moving around and changing where it's at. It's the fact that the Earth is moving underneath this water, if you want to think about it like that. So the sun in this whole system actually does one really, really cool thing in that it can it creates its own bulge that is a little bit weaker than the moon's. It ends up counteracting the moon, the bulge, the water bulge that the moon is creating in some instances, but also sometimes it will help get an even larger, an even higher high tide, so an even larger water bulge than you would normally have. So this would be in a situation where you have the Earth, the moon, and then the sun basically in alignment, and then you would get these really, really high tides, like extremely high tides, and that only happens occasionally. At other points, when the moon is, say, on the is perpendicular, so you have like the moon, the Earth, and the sun, you know, you'll have your regular high tides, but then sometimes when it's facing the other way, you'll end up having it interfere with the tides, and so the high tides won't be as high. And it's probably a little bit safer if you want to go surfing or something.
There's a couple other factors that determine how high and how low a tide gets at a given location. The Earth doesn't have a global ocean. We've got 7 continents kind of scattered across the surface of the planet, so the water can't perfectly follow the moon's gravitational pull. Also, the ocean isn't at an even depth. At some places, the difference between high and low tide is barely noticeable. Others, it's quite drastic. When you do visit Acadia, pay attention to when the tide rolls in and out. Otherwise, you could get stuck on an island for 6 hours or more. Check in with the visitor center to see when high and low tide is for that day. If the tide is out, you can hike out to Little Moose or the Bar Islands. Just make sure you get back before the tide rolls in. Well, that's our show. Thanks for watching. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some tidal amplitudes to quantify. We'll see you next time on OutSCIder Classroom. Want to learn more about our national parks? Then hit that subscribe button, friend. Stay up to date and catch bonus features by following us on Instagram @OutSCIder.